You can't tell me Minecraft is the worst movie of 2025 when Snow White exists. That's right. Do you not understand how humiliating this is? Meanwhile, the experience at Minecraft goes something like this.
When we look, you can see families were more than willing to go to the box office to support something like the Minecraft movie, while Rachel Zegler's Snow White continues to plunge. Minecraft in the United States in one weekend made more money than Snow White has made globally after 3 weekends. That's how bad it is right now.
Warner Brothers' Minecraft movie versus Disney's Snow White, which in theory should be quite a battle, but it's not even a fair fight. It's pretty hysterical, actually, to watch.
The numbers don't just tell a story, they reveal a massacre. Minecraft opened with a staggering $300 million globally, while Snow White has barely crawled to $160 million after 3 full weekends. That's right, Minecraft made more money in the United States in one weekend than Snow White has made globally in nearly a month. For a Disney princess movie based on the story that launched the entire Disney empire, this isn't just disappointing, it's catastrophic. Let's break down these figures to truly understand the magnitude of this failure. Industry tracking suggested Snow White would open to at least $80–90 million domestically, with a global opening around $200 million. Instead, it debuted with just $45 million domestically and has struggled to build momentum. Meanwhile, Minecraft was projected to open around $60–70 million domestically, but blew past those estimates with over $120 million in North America alone. The weekend when both films were playing simultaneously tells the most damning story. Reports indicate that on that crucial Saturday, Minecraft pulled in approximately $60 million in a single day, while Snow White managed just $2 million. Some theaters reported near-empty screenings for Snow White, with promotional photos showing sometimes just a handful of people in auditoriums designed to seat hundreds. As one viral social media post commented alongside a photo of a nearly empty theater, "She's literally the only person there." Do you not understand how humiliating this is? But the box office disaster doesn't end there. Snow White reportedly cost over $200 million to produce, plus at least another $100 million for its global marketing campaign, with theatrical returns likely to stall around $200 million worldwide. Industry analysts project Disney could lose as much as $150 million on this project once all costs are factored in. Compare that to Minecraft, which cost approximately $120 million to produce and will likely turn a profit of over $400 million when all is said and done. That kind of financial disparity doesn't just hurt a studio's bottom line, it shakes investor confidence and can trigger executive reshuffling.
Rachel Zegler is a loudmouth dope.
We're talking about ultra-far leftists, people who believe that men and women are a figment of your imagination, that your money is not your own, that your family is not your own, and that your country is not your own. That's what woke me.
Snow White, of course, famously played by the insufferable girl boss narcissist who's just clinical at this point.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
But it says, meanwhile, over in the kingdom of crumbling crowns, Disney's Snow White dropped like an enchanted apple.
Doesn't need a prince to save her, and not surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
Oh, what went wrong? Many point to lead actress Rachel Zegler, who became the center of controversy long before the film even hit theaters. In interview after interview, Zegler seemed to criticize the original story, telling reporters, "It's no longer 1937. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be." She even described the prince in the original as weird and literally stalks her. These comments ignited a firestorm among Disney purists and families who grew up loving the classic tale. The backlash intensified when additional interview clips surfaced, showing Zegler appearing to mock aspects of the original animated film. In one particularly viral moment, she seemed dismissive when discussing the romantic elements of Snow White, saying, "There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird, weird, so we didn't do that this time." For many Disney fans, these comments came across as disrespectful to a beloved classic, rather than simply highlighting how the new version differs. Industry insiders suggest Disney's publicity team grew increasingly concerned as Zegler's press tour continued. According to anonymous sources cited in trade publications, there were discussions about scaling back her media appearances or providing more structured talking points, but these interventions came too late to contain the damage. By the time the film neared release, search results for Snow White movie were dominated by negative coverage of Zegler's comments, rather than excitement about the film itself. To make matters worse, social media users began digging through Zegler's past posts, uncovering politically charged statements that further alienated potential viewers. Screenshots circulated showing her making comments about politics that some families found off-putting for an actress starring in a children's film. As one entertainment reporter noted, when you're playing one of the most beloved children's characters of all time, your personal politics become impossible to separate from the role, fair or not. But the controversy didn't stop there. Social media erupted when cast photos revealed that Zegler, a Colombian-American actress, would play a character famously described as having skin white as snow. The film attempts to explain this by creating a new backstory where she's called Snow White because she and her family go through a snowstorm and survive the snowstorm, so it's a mark of her resilience. For many longtime fans, this felt like an unnecessary rewrite of a beloved classic. Disney defended the casting as part of its broader commitment to diversity and inclusion, with executives emphasizing the importance of allowing children from all backgrounds to see themselves represented in classic stories. However, the execution of this vision proved problematic. Rather than simply casting Zegler and moving forward with the traditional story, trusting audiences to embrace a talented performer regardless of ethnicity, the studio created an entirely new explanation for the character's name that struck many as contrived. Film historians and cultural critics weighed in on both sides of the debate. Some praised Disney's willingness to reimagine its classics for a modern, diverse audience. Others argued that certain character attributes are so fundamental to specific stories that changing them creates an entirely different character. As one critic wrote, Snow White's physical appearance isn't incidental to the story. It's literally in her name and central to the entire fairy tale. At what point does reimagining become creating something entirely different while using a valuable IP name? The controversy might have been survivable if the film had delivered a compelling new vision that won over audiences on its own merits. Instead, early viewers described the new backstory as awkwardly inserted and feeling like an obvious retcon rather than an organic evolution of the character. The explanation about surviving a snowstorm was particularly mocked online, with social media users creating countless memes and parody videos about the clumsy narrative device.
What they really mean is they're describing a worldview that hates you, that hates everything America stands for.
Disney's approach to updating Snow White went far beyond casting. The remake fundamentally reimagines the story, transforming Snow White from a kind-hearted princess dreaming of true love into an aspiring leader focused on independence and self-reliance. The seven dwarfs, iconic characters from both the original fairy tale and the animated classic, were replaced with magical creatures, a change that drew additional criticism from fans and even from actors with dwarfism who lost potential roles. These changes reflected Disney's attempt to address perceived problematic elements in the original story. Modern feminist critiques have often pointed to Snow White's passivity and her salvation through a prince's kiss as outdated messages for today's young audiences. Similarly, concerns about the portrayal of the seven dwarfs as comedic characters led to their replacement. While these revisions were made with good intentions, they fundamentally altered the story's identity. The problem wasn't that Disney updated the tale, it's that they seemed to disrespect the original in the process. Rather than finding ways to enhance the classic elements while adding modern sensibilities, the remake appeared to treat the source material as fundamentally flawed and in need of correction. As one film historian noted, Walt Disney's Snow White wasn't just a movie, it was a revolutionary achievement in animation and storytelling that captivated generations. Approaching it as something broken that needs fixing misunderstands why people love it in the first place. Industry analysts point to other successful Disney remakes like 2017's Beauty and the Beast, which made subtle updates to Belle's character, while preserving the core romance and magical elements that fans loved. That film grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide, demonstrating that audiences are open to thoughtful modernization that respects the original. Snow White, by contrast, seemed to throw out the fundamental building blocks of the story, leaving audiences wondering why Disney bothered using the IP at all. So why did Minecraft succeed where Snow White failed? For starters, it respected its source material. The Minecraft video game has sold over 300 million copies since 2011, creating a massive built-in audience. Rather than trying to fix the game or lecture audiences, the film embraced what fans already loved. It didn't try to be anything other than fun entertainment. The Minecraft movie understood its audience in ways that Snow White didn't. While the game appeals to children, it also has a massive following among teenagers and adults who grew up playing it. The film cleverly balanced references that would resonate with hardcore fans while remaining accessible to newcomers. It included beloved game elements like creepers, zombies, and the distinctive mining and crafting mechanics, while weaving them into an original story that stood on its own merits. Crucially, the filmmakers behind Minecraft approached the project with genuine affection for the source material. In interviews, the directors and producers spoke enthusiastically about their own experiences playing the game and their desire to capture its creative spirit rather than improving upon it. This authentic appreciation came through in the final product, creating a film that felt like a loving tribute rather than a corporate cash grab or a lecture disguised as entertainment. The casting of Jack Black as the lead voice actor also proved to be a masterstroke. Despite sometimes controversial statements in his own career, Black brings undeniable energy and star power that translates to ticket sales. The film created what industry experts call a live audience reaction event, a theater experience, where people participate and interact with the movie itself, something increasingly rare in the streaming era. The contrasting audience experiences for these two films couldn't be more dramatic. Reports from Minecraft screenings describe theaters so packed that some locations added additional showings to meet demand. Social media, filled with videos of excited audiences cheering during key moments and even dressing up as their favorite characters. Some theaters reported such enthusiastic crowd reactions that security occasionally had to intervene to maintain order, the kind of passionate audience engagement studios dream about. Meanwhile, Snow White screenings were described as eerily quiet, with some showings nearly empty despite aggressive discounting of tickets. One viral video showed a theater with just 4 people scattered across hundreds of seats during a prime Saturday showing. Theater employees reported families walking out midway through screenings, with children appearing bored or confused by the reimagined story that bore little resemblance to the tale they knew. Perhaps most importantly, Minecraft focused on fun, rather than message. Multiple reviewers note the film is non-political and doesn't beat you and box you about the ears with a message. It's simply silly fun for kids, which is what a kids' movie should be. This approach clearly resonated with audiences tired of what they perceive as preachy entertainment. The word-of-mouth effect amplified these different experiences. Minecraft benefited from overwhelmingly positive social media buzz, with viewers posting enthusiastic recommendations and returning for repeat viewings with friends and family. Snow White, by contrast, generated predominantly negative word of mouth, with many parents advising others to skip it and wait for streaming or avoid it altogether. As one industry analyst put it, in the age of social media, the audience verdict spreads at lightning speed. Once a film gets labeled as a disappointment, it's nearly impossible to change that narrative.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
What's fascinating is how differently critics and audiences responded to both films. Critics gave Minecraft a lukewarm 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, while audiences awarded it a much higher 87%. The divide shows a growing disconnect between professional reviewers and the ticket-buying public. As one commentator put it, these people pay the bills, these people don't, pointing to audiences versus critics. This gap between critical reception and audience response highlights a broader trend in entertainment. Professional critics often evaluate films based on artistic merit, originality, and cultural relevance, criteria that don't always align with what general audiences seek from their entertainment experiences. For many families spending $100+ on tickets and concessions, the primary question isn't, is this cinema? But rather, will my kids enjoy this? And will I have fun watching it with them? Minecraft's critical reviews frequently dismissed it as simplistic, derivative, or lacking artistic ambition. One prominent critic described it as empty calories for the mind, offering nothing of substance beyond familiar video game tropes translated to the big screen. Yet audience reviews praised precisely what critics condemned: its straightforward storytelling, familiar elements from the game, and focus on fun rather than heavy themes or messages. Snow White, by contrast, received mixed to positive reviews from critics, with many praising its attempt to modernize the story for contemporary audiences. Critics frequently applauded the film's feminist reimagining and necessary updates to problematic elements of the original. Yet audiences rejected these same changes, seeing them as unnecessary revisions to a beloved classic. The disconnect reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about what draws people to timeless stories in the first place.
Well, we all basically knew that Snow White was going to be a massive failure at the box office because of Rachel Zegler's controversial statement.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
You know, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it, you didn't direct it, You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
Behind the scenes at Disney, insiders describe a company in crisis mode. There are reportedly tense meetings where executives are frantically pointing fingers at each other. Some blame the marketing team for not changing course when early backlash began. Others criticize the writers for ignoring test audience feedback. And many question why no one reined in Zegler's controversial press tour comments before they damaged the film's reputation. The fallout has been swift and severe. Several high-level executives associated with the project have reportedly been reassigned or quietly exited the company. Disney's stock price dipped following the disastrous opening weekend, with analysts expressing concern about the studio's creative direction. Some investors have publicly questioned whether the company has lost touch with its core family audience in pursuit of what one shareholder described as Twitter approval rather than ticket sales. According to industry insiders, Disney conducted emergency focus groups to understand where the film went wrong. The results were reportedly devastating. Families expressed confusion about why the story had been changed so dramatically, and children reported finding the new version boring, compared to the animated classic they knew and loved. Perhaps most concerning for Disney, parents indicated reduced trust in the Disney brand overall, with some saying they would be more cautious about taking their children to future Disney releases. The situation grew so dire that Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, reportedly ordered a comprehensive review of all upcoming live-action remakes to ensure they don't repeat Snow White's mistakes. Projects already in production, including Moana and Lilo and Stitch, are allegedly undergoing script revisions to ensure they remain faithful to the elements that made the originals beloved, while making more measured, thoughtful updates for modern audiences.
Now, there is no doubt about it that Snow White 2025 is considered by far one of the worst box office failures, not just with Disney, but also in the entire film history when it comes down to live-action remakes.
The Snow White debacle represents more than just one film's failure. It signals a potential turning point in how Hollywood approaches beloved properties. For years, studios have been mining their libraries for remakes and reboots, assuming that nostalgia and brand recognition would guarantee box office success regardless of creative decisions. Snow White's failure challenges that assumption, demonstrating that audiences have limits to what they'll accept in the name of modernization. Industry analysts are already citing the Snow White Minecraft showdown as a case study in contrasting approaches to intellectual property. Disney tried to fix what wasn't broken, while Minecraft embraced what made the original special, noted one prominent entertainment journalist. The lesson here isn't that audiences reject modernization, it's that they reject condescension. Treat your source material with contempt, and audiences will return the favor at the box office. The implications extend beyond Disney to the entire entertainment industry. Studios have increasingly prioritized updating older properties with contemporary social messages, often radically altering fundamental character attributes and storylines in the process. While this approach has sometimes succeeded critically, the box office results have been mixed at best. Snow White's failure, following similar disappointments for other heavily revised remakes, suggests audiences may be reaching a tipping point. This doesn't mean audiences reject diversity or updated values in their entertainment. Rather, it suggests they prefer these elements to be integrated organically, rather than feeling like heavy-handed revisions to stories they cherish. As one cultural commentator put it, there's a difference between thoughtful evolution and dismissive revision. One honors what came before while moving forward. The other implies the original was fundamentally flawed and needs correction. Audiences can tell the difference, and they're voting with their wallets. The lesson Hollywood might finally be learning is simple. Respect your audience and the source material they love. Disney's attempt to modernize Snow White by fundamentally changing what made the original beloved has backfired spectacularly. As one analyst put it, if Disney had made a faithful adaptation of the original Snow White, it would have made $1 billion. This doesn't mean studios can't update classic stories for modern audiences. It means those updates need to enhance rather than replace what made the original special. The most successful remakes, like Disney's own The Jungle Book and Cinderella, found this balance, maintaining the magic and wonder of the originals while subtly adding depth to characters and themes. They treated the source material as a foundation to build upon rather than a problem to fix. For creators and studios going forward, the key takeaway is understanding why people fell in love with these stories in the first place. Snow White endured for nearly a century, not because audiences were too unsophisticated to recognize its supposedly problematic elements, but because it tapped into universal themes. delivered genuine emotion, and created a sense of wonder that transcended its time. Any adaptation that loses sight of these core qualities risks alienating the very audience it hopes to attract. The Minecraft success story offers a counterexample worth studying. Rather than trying to elevate or fix its source material, the film celebrated what made the game special. It respected its audience enough to assume they loved the original for valid reasons, then worked to translate that experience to the big screen, rather than lecturing them about why their affection was misplaced or outdated. The question now is whether Disney will learn from this expensive lesson or double down on their current approach. With several more live-action remakes in the pipeline, including Moana and Lilo and Stitch, all eyes are on how the studio will adjust its strategy. As for Minecraft, its surprise success has already sparked talk of a sequel, and potentially a wider cinematic universe. Early reports suggest Disney is already implementing changes based on the Snow White fallout. Sources close to production on upcoming remakes indicate the studio is placing renewed emphasis on faithfulness to the originals, with fewer radical character and plot revisions. There's also talk of more careful vetting of cast members' social media histories and more structured media training before press tours begin. For Warner Brothers, Minecraft's success opens exciting new possibilities. Beyond the already greenlit sequel, studio executives are reportedly exploring other gaming properties for potential adaptation. More significantly, the film's success with a back-to-basics entertainment approach has reinforced the studio's recent strategy shift away from message-driven content toward more broadly appealing fare. Other studios are taking notes as well. Industry newsletters report that several major productions currently in development are being re-evaluated in light of Snow White's failure, with particular attention to how drastically they deviate from their source material. One studio executive was quoted anonymously saying, "We're all looking at our remake slates and asking ourselves if we're enhancing what people love or trying to fix what isn't broken." The ultimate irony? A movie based on blocky pixels with minimal plot has delivered one of the most sophisticated messages to Hollywood in years. Sometimes fun is enough. No agenda, no reimagining, no fixing what isn't broken. Just good old-fashioned entertainment that brings families together. In the battle between Blocks and Princess, the Blocks won decisively, and Hollywood will never be the same. This box office battle represents a watershed moment in entertainment, a clear signal that audiences are growing weary of having beloved classics updated in ways that fundamentally alter their identity. It's not that they reject progress or diversity. Rather, they reject the implication that the stories they cherished were somehow deficient or harmful all along. The most successful entertainers have always understood that their primary job is to entertain, not to lecture. Whatever messages they wish to convey are most effective when integrated seamlessly into compelling stories, rather than foregrounded at the expense of narrative and character. Minecraft embraced this principle while Snow White forgot it, and the box office results speak for themselves. As we move forward, the most successful studios will likely be those that find the delicate balance between honoring beloved classics and thoughtfully evolving them for new generations. They'll recognize that nostalgia is a powerful force, not because audiences are stuck in the past, but because certain stories tap into timeless human experiences, and they'll approach these stories with respect rather than revision as their guiding principle. In the end, perhaps the most important lesson from this box office bloodbath is one Walt Disney himself understood intuitively. Entertainment that touches the heart will always outlast entertainment that merely lectures the mind. It's a lesson written in box office receipts that Hollywood ignores at its peril.